Do you really feel like machines and automation can be more effective than people?
Yes. And I think that in certain domains, it's a clear yes. In certain domains, it may be less applicable. Meaning, if you want someone to write a policy for you, maybe a machine would be a mistaken choice. Right?
That's a bad idea.
Right. But, if you want to automate your patching, for instance, and let's talk about patching because it's a big problem, right? A lot of companies has it. A lot of breaches happen because of that, right?
Right. I mean, there's challenges with patching, obviously, because also its impact on a company's, you can patch something and all of a sudden it takes down your system for 3 days while you try to fix, what the patch did.
Exactly. So, and that ties back to the thing I spoke about solving others' problems, right? So patching is a security thing, really a security thing, right? But patching also has not only security stuff, right? It also has, bugs, performance issues that it tends to solve. So anyway, a company needs to go through the patching practices. If the company is mature enough, and if I will come up with an automation solution, the company has to have certain foundations in automation. So, QA today, or DevOps, so-called, it's something that tends to be more mature, and there are certain tools that can support your, let's say, CI/CD pipeline, right? Because that's the trend today. When you have good enough testing, you can actually make sure that any patch that you will apply will work or will not be introduced into production. So with QA, it can be sanity tests. It can be just simple performance tests, right? You run everything through your pipelines, and one of the pipelines can be let's test security. It's just application security as well. And in those pipelines, if you see different results, like there are tools that even can measure the time it takes a server to respond while you do your testing, and it's not necessarily a security tool, not necessarily a performance tool. It's just detects anomalies, right? Not security anomalies.
Right.
And in that case, if you can just integrate into the process and say, well, we have a chef script. I'm getting technical, but it's just an example. I have a chef script that just does all of the updating to the operating system as part of the deployment. Yeah, sure, do that. And if something fails, don't promote it to production, and we'll test it. Right.
The common theme that we hear today, whenever anywhere, is AI, machine learning, deep learning, and automation, right? So, you hear it from a lot of different companies and a lot of different emerging technologies where, I've got the latest, greatest thing, and it's AI, and it's machine learning, and it's deep learning. That kind of ties into automation, right? Because technically that's supposed to be like, oh, it learns on its own, and it develops a mind of its own, and it learns how to counter people on its own.
Yep.
Do you buy into that theory?
I buy into that theory in certain places. And let me explain it. So, there are a lot of EDR solutions, endpoint detection and response solutions, and a lot of them are based on all of those buzzwords, right? I have AI, deep learning, machine learning, whatever, right?
Right.
And for
We're bumping the mic here. Yeah. Sorry, guys.
So for those solutions, it's really endless battle.
Right.
Someone will always find a way to bypass it. Said that, let's talk about other technologies that it can be very well there. It can work very well there. So if it's let's say container, software containers, today it's always going up in the hype.
Right.
With containers, you can actually whitelist the processes running within a container while you test the software, right?
Okay.
And then when you whitelist it based on, just examining what is running all of that time, it's not exactly machine learning or AI, but it's a algorithm that eventually tests what you have and examines it over time and eventually builds a profile. If you take that profile and put it in production, there is almost zero risk for having a false positive, because when you test your software and you have good enough coverage, the possibility that someone will go into a different process will be, very low. So there are certain places that I will definitely get more of the machine learning, AI, deep learning, and there are certain places where I won't.
When we talk of workforce shortage, excuse me, and we talk about workforce shortage and we talk about automation, right? And you have a very, very good point on automation. You go, hey, anything that I can automate that doesn't require me to have people here is great. Automating systems still requires people to kind of monitor and run them, right? Because sometimes, nothing's perfect. So the challenge to still get qualified people is real. But do you think that if you could automate as much as you possibly could, how much labor force would that save you?
That's a good question. I think it really depends on where you put the automation. Let me give you an example. Phishing campaigns. Right? It's a common thing that companies do. For phishing campaigns, usually you need some labor to either design the pages,
build
choose
the content,
the people, build the content, manage those campaigns, track if the campaigns went through. So this is labor, right?
Right.
It can be maybe, let's say 20% FTE. I'm just throwing that out.
Okay.
Right? It depends on the size of the company. It depends of
20%. But I can tell you, I can give you feedback from someone who's asked this question all the time. 20% is about the average FTE. So you're fine. You're pretty much nailing it on the head.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty much what I estimated. So
right.
It's good. It's good to have this feedback.
Yeah, it's 20% is a good number.
Yeah. So you have this 20%, and you calculate how much costs a security analyst, and then you look at other tools and you see, well, is there any tool that can do the full thing for me, and I will not need to spend $1 of FTE into this product? And there is a product, right? The only thing that I want to have from such a company is reporting. I want to see what's going on. I want to see the people that are fooled around. I want even to automate the people that click the link. I want them to appear in the next campaign, right? I want them to get educated. All of that can be automated. So if you can find an algorithm or a company, it doesn't matter how you look at that, because MSSP also solves part of the problem, not exactly through automation, but it's also a thing that you can shift over to someone with relatively low cost.
Right.
If you can do that and take that through all the pillars of security, just find the places where you can save even a little bit. In this case, 20%, it's quite a lot.
I mean, that gives you more flexibility with your budget.
Well, the budget is the budget, right? You ask for a budget and you justify the budget in some way, right? To justify the budget, you need to go through an automation discussion. Say, hey, I'm saving some money on those types of solutions by doing that. And then, it's just an easy sell.
The CyberHub Engage podcast is brought to you by CyberHub Summit. CyberHub Summit is the leading executive cybersecurity education forum, hosting their second annual event in Atlanta, Georgia on October 10th. You can find out more at cyberhubsummit.com.